Okay.
Call the order at 6:32, the Lisbon Plan Commission meeting, June 25th, 2025. Roll call, please.
President Gerke,
Here.
trustee Baum,
Here.
Commissioner Ilhoffen,
Here.
Commissioner Eberly,
Here.
Commissioner Howard,
Here.
Commissioner McCormick,
Here.
Commissioner Lesser,
Here.
Planner Sumwalt,
Here.
Attorney Larson,
Here.
Engineer Lysis is present and in the audience, Administrator Green,
Here.
and Clerk Capazzo to record the minutes.
All right, item 2 is citizens' comments. Citizens are invited to share their comments at this time, and please, if you'd like to speak, state your name, I want to say name and address and 1 to 3 minutes, but hearing nothing, then we'll move on to item.
Yep, no
Oh,
one present on
all right.
Zoom.
Item 3 is approval of the meeting minutes from May 28th, 2025.
I would note for the record that there was a typo on page 5 of 7, towards the bottom of the page for the 2-lot certified survey map. It is item B. The motion and second read Baum. It should read Baum Ilhoffen. I have made that correction.
All right, so with that correction, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. And motion carries 7-0. Item 4A under new business is discussion and necessary action on the request of applicant Eric Obrowski of Newman Developments on behalf of owners David and Mary Horn for the approval of a developer's development agreement for the proposed Homestead Ridge subdivision to be located on the southernmost 77 acres of North 68 West 26098 Silver Spring Drive with Lisbon tax number 0221.999.004 and recommendation to the village board of the same.
So this is the developer's agreement. And there were the draft was submitted to our attorney. He had some minor corrections and changes, which we incorporated. I hear an echo. I had sent this to Mitch and to Oren for review, and I sent it back to the developer. The developer had some small track changes, which are in the document. The engineer and I reviewed, and we didn't see anything substantial. So my recommendation would be to approve unless there's discussion regarding any other issues.
There is a recommended motion on the staff memo in your packet.
So, start with discussion or a motion and then discussion. I can open it up. The applicant is not here. We were anticipating that they were going to be here? No.
We were not.
Okay. So the one issue that I had was the cul-de-sac that we were talking about just prior to the meeting. And the thought is that that does not necessarily need to be in here, but I mean, the cul-de-sac that the developer is going to approve, right? So, I mean, when we were debating this previously, I mean, I think we made comments that we wanted that in the developer's agreement, but if that's not where it belongs, we were never corrected at that point. Where does staff and attorney recommend that shows up? And I don't want to move so far down the process that we lose our ability to make sure that happens.
So I can comment on that. Typically in the developer's agreement, it doesn't deal with the specific road plans. Those plans are addressed in the plan, the construction plan documents. And so the developer's agreement, for example, on section 1A refers to the public street plans. And so I would expect that cul-de-sac treatment would be addressed in those plans. I don't have those plans been approved at this point? Okay, so
You're gonna have to switch it on, Mitch.
There it goes.
So plans have not been approved yet. I haven't seen any plans for that cul-de-sac at this point in time. So I'm just writing myself an action item that, you know, when we're reviewing those plans, we'll make sure that they have something in there for the improvements to that cul-de-sac. And I can make that, so final approval will not be completed until we see something for that as well.
Okay, because that's, I mean, that's effectively off-site, if you will. So I mean, I just, if it's shown as in the plans, but it's, to me, it's a gray area, and I think we've handled it differently in the past. But if everyone, if it's comfortable from the staff standpoint and the plan commission's comfortable with that, then
It does make sense that they would do those improvements when they're doing all the other improvements as well. So I can make sure that they have some sort of plan for that, for sure.
Will that come
It-
back,
it's-
will that come before the plan commission for approval for the roads and stuff, or no?
Final plan approval is never really, I don't think it's really contingent on the board. It's staff review and approval.
and we gave the approval for what we envisioned previously, so
Yep.
as long as that comes through, so.
Correct.
I guess my only question would be, since it's not in, that specific issue is not included in the development agreement, it should be addressed in the road
Mhm.
construction plans, which Mitch will see.
Correct.
But they have removed from section 1A3, somebody has deleted the, and written recommendation from village engineer submitted for approval to the village board before building permits are issued for said lots. Do we want to remove that checkpoint?
So that is in reference to when they're complete with the construction in its entirety, with the exception of surface course of pavement and final shoulder restoration. So that that's an after that. And to be honest with you, in the past, it really hasn't been being done. So that was one of the reasons why they wanted to remove that. I feel there's a couple things that said it, kind of a written notice. What it's always really been is discussion. I do a walkthrough of items with the DPW director for punch list items. We send those over to the contractor and the developer. They make those address those punch list items, and then at that point in time, I'll let Brian know that, hey, they're good to go for building permits. So it's been more of a just discussion through emails and through phone conversations.
Is the terminus something that would be required to be on the preliminary plat? I'm guessing not, because it's not part of the development.
Mm-mm.
It's outside the property.
Right, and that's my only concern is it's not going to be addressed in the plat, it's not addressed in the developer agreement, and it's not really addressed in any
Well, are
official
we-
documentation.
I'll hold up
Are we,
plan.
are we ahead of the game here by approving this developers agreement until, like, in this case, the construction plans are submitted and approved?
No, because the majority of the projects that we've done in the past, before final approval of the plans, we've approved the developers agreement. So it wouldn't be anything different than what we've done in the past.
But I'm just wondering if we need a side agreement for that terminus,
so.
specific to the terminus.
Mr. Chairman, it is not uncommon for improvements to be, for offsite improvements to be done for a development project. Sometimes we have to bring sewer out, we have to bring water out, and the developer is obligated to do it. Or there could be intersection improvements or accel, decel lanes. That's relatively common. And that's why I say typically we expect to see that in the plans. And so in the plan review, we'll be looking, Mitch will be looking for that. If the plan commission is more comfortable calling it out specifically, there's nothing wrong with that. We could call it out specifically. In 1A1, we could add a sentence to say these plans must include completion of the turnaround. And I forget the name of the street, but you know,
Edgewood.
Yeah,
at Edgewood Avenue,
Edgewood Drive.
Edgewood Drive. I mean, we could just add the sentence in 1A1 that says the construction plans must include completion of a turnaround at Edgewood Avenue to the satisfaction of the engineer.
And that would
I would
give
be
me a
much more
little bit of
comfortable with that.
leeway too, or at least a little bit of enforcement. So if I don't see it in the plans and I request it, that they are looking at me saying, hey, you're hanging up our project because of this, and at least I can say, hey, it was in the developer's agreement, and that would
Just-
help.
Just based on a history of other issues, I would be much more comfortable having this in writing in an agreement
I
of some sort.
agree.
Yeah, I do too. All right. And
That's a good
one more at
idea,
least,
sure.
right? Everyone's on the same page? Okay.
Good.
All right. Was there any other issues anyone saw?
There was a lot of discussion at the last meeting regarding the stormwater drainage and making sure that that is going to be taken care of. Has anything been done with that?
We have not received the stormwater management plans or the report. And we still are on that preliminary design that they had initially submitted. So I'll reach out to them and find out where we're at with stuff like that, but we haven't seen anything different than what they initially submitted.
So they haven't sent anything to the county yet.
They have, but I don't think I think they're doing it in bits and pieces like they've been doing it here as well, so.
And then their stormwater plan for this development would address the issue that was raised for the adjoining,
Correct, it
Okay.
should, that's what we're looking for.
right?
Yep. And the way that it was described by, I don't know if it was, which, it wasn't Ryan, it was,
Brian Lindgren?
Brian. He was incorrect on the way that he described what was happening with the stormwater in that area, because we had already looked at that, knowing it was a concern, and so I pointed it out to him at the end of the meeting, and he said he would get me revised plans that will address that, so. But that I have not seen it.
One other question, we also brought up about Osplick Ski Hill and their commercial wells, 12-inch, 1,000 feet deep wells, and the impact it's gonna have on the water table in that area for the future residents. Seeing that this is a development agreement between the developer and the village, is there anything that the village needs to be concerned about if in the future Osblick pumps water and those wells run dry in those residents' properties? Is there any liability
We're
to,
not,
You're thinking of the one
discussing that right
across the
now.
street. This is the one north of Silver Spring.
oh, this is on the other side?
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
this is a different development.
sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That's a fight for another day, but
yeah,
yeah.
I thought this was on the south, well, this is on the,
It's,
this is on the
they're
south
next,
side.
they're next to each other. This one's on the north side of Silver Spring, but Newman also has the development on the south side of Silver Spring. They're literally right across the street from each other.
Okay. Stand corrected, thank you.
Are we ready for a motion? Any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the developer's agreement for Homestead Ridge, subject to staff making any necessary final edits, corrections as appropriate and addition
To
of
1A1.
text to section 1A1 regarding the completion of the terminus of Edgewood Drive and any recommendation to village board of the same.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Taking it.
No, you can have the motion.
Joe?
All right. Motion's made and seconded. Is there any additional discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. You're welcome to stay. Item 4B is discussion necessary action on the request of Peter and Sandra Sequoias.
Skodras.
Skodras, I don't know why I can't never, okay. At N88W22418 North Lisbon Road, Lisbon tax key number LSBT 0148998006, and Nicole Sequoias
Skodras Saxon.
Saxon at North 88 West 22408 North Lisbon Road, Lisbon tax key number 0148998007 for approval of the following, a waiver to section 7.06 of the land division ordinance, which requires a depth to width ratio of no more than 2.5 to 1, and certified survey map to adjust the common property line and recommendation to the village board of the same. Warren?
Okay, so this is again a proposal for a two-lot certified survey map that will modify some adjoining lot lines between the petitioner, her parcel and her parents' parcel to the north and west of hers. Essentially, we're shifting the lot line 60 feet north in between their parcels so that she has more room to provide more of a rear yard. It's a long, skinny lot, and so that's where the request for the waiver to the depth and width ratio comes into play. The lot already exceeds the requirement. So I would just add that staff doesn't have any objection to that request for that waiver. The overall way that we request the waivers take place is by a separate motion by the Plan Commission. So that's how it's laid out on the agenda. And it does need to be a majority of the Plan Commission to approve that. As far as the recommendations and conditions, there's a question as to whether or not there might be an existing access easement agreement between the two lots, between the petitioner and her parents' parcel. It is a shared access currently whereby, you know, her driveway tees into the main driveway for her parents' lot before it hits the street there. So we've got a condition, should we find that there is an existing easement agreement that would satisfy that, and the condition would just be moot. If not, we would ask that there be a separate written agreement. You know, in these situations, when it's all family, it's all good. Should the property, either property ever sell, we want to make sure that neighbors can be good neighbors by having that in place.
Makes total sense. Who's the longest tenured person on the Plan Commission? Was that Brian?
Yeah.
Do you remember this? I mean, not that it matters. I think we sufficiently addressed it, but do you remember when this came in front of the Plan Commission? It was 2017, you said in here?
Looks like
That was
for
about
the,
eight
for-
years ago, roughly.
for this, yeah, for the
Give or
first time
take.
this lot was created, 2017, yeah.
So we'll look, but you don't specifically recall if there was a driveway agreement.
I don't think
So,
so.
All right,
No, I don't actually. No, I don't remember.
They usually requested, I don't know if they required them, they requested them after the whole debacle with the other shared driveway up on North Lisbon Road years ago, so.
I would be surprised if it wasn't out there, but either way, you've sufficiently adjusted now, so. Mitch, did you have anything to add? The applicant's not here, we anticipated him being here, but I don't think that's necessarily an issue, right? I mean,
The other conditions that we're requesting, we've spoken to the petitioner about these types of issues. So our AD 10, I've talked to Mr. Skodras about, you know, that we're gonna look at how many lots have already been created and make sure that we're accounting for those and not granting him future rights to something, because, you know, that's why we went back and took a good hard look at, okay, when were these other lots previously made? And how does that work with the 80-10, and are there any development rights left? Because if there were, we'd want to document that and memorialize that as a note on the CSM so that future folks here in the village would know. In this case, based on the math, it looks like there would not be any more development rights remaining. with the current 80-10 zoning.
Yeah, but the way you have it written, it's with the current zoning,
Yep,
so like,
if somebody wants to develop a subdivision, they would need to rezone it, and then we're moving on to whatever comp plan and zoning we're talking about at that time.
I'll make a motion to grant the waiver to section 706, parent 3 of the land division ordinance regarding depth to width ratio of the proposed development.
is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Sure. Any additional discussion?
Yeah, I had some questions. So this parcel was divided off. It looks like in 2017, there was a previous division for his son in 2013 of 5.3 acres. I'm assuming that's not part of this because
No,
it's
it
a
is not.
different CSM, right? So it's a totally separate property.
Right.
I
Um,
can see the outline in there, but it's a different CSM.
So the question is, this was done in 2017. When was the house built?
Probably thereafter.
Probably,
Okay.
Yeah.
I think-
So they built the
2018,
house knowing that their backyard was only gonna be a certain distance? And I'm assuming that this provision of 2.5 times the width was in effect then. So this property is 649 feet. If you got a 2.5 to 1 ratio, the depth could only be 400 feet to 160 feet wide. So was there a request for a deviation at that time when this was divided?
Don't know, but I can tell you that we try to account for those types of things today, if we can have the foresight to do so. I would also just state that when you have rural lots like this, people like to have their home off of the road. And when they're building a home, you're not necessarily thinking about what you might want to do in the future or what the rules are for placement of accessory structures. And so, a lot of what I do in my zoning administration role, in other communities is you try to educate people when they're coming in for plans to build like this and say, well, you're not really leaving yourself a lot of room in the rear yard, but maybe they just assumed that they had a lot of land still and could build something in their front yard, but what you'll find is the answer is no. You can't necessarily build a structure in the street yard. Even though the existing farmstead has that, those structures were from a different era, right? So if you want to build something nowadays, it would need to be in the side or rear. So if you used up all your room in the side and the rear with the development of the home, it makes sense if you wanted to do something moving forward that you would want to do something like this. So it is still at the discretion of the plan commission, if that's appropriate to grant that waiver. But that's my understanding of why it's being requested.
So why do we have a 2.5 to 1 ratio requirement if we're waiving?
Well, so for when subdivisions are being developed currently, that they are primarily consistent with our rules. And there's always, you look at things on a case by case, and that's why the waiver process is available, is so that the plan commission at their discretion can grant waivers in certain instances, given the unique circumstances of a specific lot, because all lots are created differently. But yeah, for when we're looking at something like a new platted subdivision, like the one we were just talking about, we look at those things. And again, if requests for waivers come in at the time of the development, or if the proposal comes in, we try to look to see if those are going to be needed based on if we feel they're meeting the rules or not.
You
As a
said,
staff.
you said earlier that they were looking for a bigger backyard. I was assuming that it was more along the lines of wanting to putting a secondary building behind. But either way, I mean, I don't have an issue with that. I'm surprised they're not taking a little bit more from Dad. I mean,
And they
but-
could in the future too.
because they have to go through this whole process again. I mean, but
Their money.
that's right, yeah.
Maybe Dad's stingy. I don't want to give it all up yet.
So I mean, I think I have no problem with this. I mean, again, I would say I understand your point, Kurt, but I guess it's location based. And this is very close to where I live. I think it makes, I don't have, no, no.
It just seems strange that they normally put their house, there's that lot, there's 600 feet of depth in that lot. And they pushed their house all the way back to almost their back lot line. And now they're saying they want to extend it. It's just,
They're
They
pastured
may
horses
not-
in the front though.
When they
So, I mean,
created
they're-
the land division, they may not have known where their mound was going to go. And when you're dealing with families, at least in my experience, they don't, it's an imaginary line and they don't for the life of them know where their rear lot line was until they built the darn house and found out there is no backyard on this thing. It's,
And maybe there's-
people don't know what they buy.
Yeah, and there could be high groundwater in the front that would have prevented them from building towards the front as well. I don't know.
And
doesn't
that-
show the
I think
soil-
to that point,
soil.
that's pretty likely here, because there is, I mean, there's issues.
It's lower in the front than in the
Right.
back, and the current use of the front is horse pasture.
That might be high groundwater because there are wetlands on the property.
thank you.
There's a reason why their mound is that far back.
Yeah, I don't see a problem. I don't see any problem.
Any other discussion? Right, motion's been made and seconded, hearing no additional discussion. All those in favor, just say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Right, motion carries 7-0. Item 4B2, is there a motion on this item?
We'll make a motion to certified survey map to adjust the common property line and recommendation of the village board are the same.
And is that subject to the
To
conditions of?
include the planner's comments
All right, so
And engineers' comments.
and engineer's comments.
is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
All right, so discussion, so just as a point of clarification. and
Who
this
was
is
our
po-
second?
uh,
Thank you, Brian.
There are recommended motions for those of us who are new here, which would be myself, Rob, Kurt, in the staff report. So if you're making a motion and you want to work off of that as opposed to the agenda, that is, the guy can make a lot of sense. So I'm right there with you with what I talked to Lisa about that. So I just want to make that clear again and it helps things move smooth. So motion's made and seconded. Is there any additional discussion on this item? Right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Item 4C is discussion only regarding annual reports resulting from the quarry inspections.
All right, you should all have copies of the reports that you filled out and turned in. After review during tonight's meeting, we will mail those completed reports out to the quarry personnel. So those will get mailed out tomorrow.
Are we going to have any discussion here then? I mean, you're,
Nope, they're just gonna give their reports and that's it.
okay, right, so you,
I went and did all the land and stone product ones, and everything was in pretty good shape. It seemed like a pretty good, clean operation. Everything was nice and orderly, and he said there might be more blasting in the next 10 years, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
and Dan, you were part of that inspection as well? And Ed?
Yeah, they gave me the tour, so, I didn't have any issues with either of any of their quarries. I didn't see the west quarry, on K. I saw the east quarry on K, and yeah, I agree, there was no issues.
Any questions for Bob there? All right. We'll move on to number 2 then, which is the Stark pavement. So the same, that your comments were regarding both then.
Yeah. Yeah. we did
Um,
all in one day.
Item C3 is Genesee aggregates. Joe?
Two of the three are dormant, they're not being used, and the main one out near the road off 164 is in the same condition it was for the last 3 years. They're working presently on their restoration plan. So apparently that it's going to go to the county, not to the village. And it's really about it.
The restoration plan, right, not the reclamation plan?
Yes, restoration.
All right, item 4, Payne and Dolan, Sherry?
Yeah, I went out to K and N, the asphalt plant again this year and, did a little bit later in the month. And there was a lot of activity going on and it's just amazing how spotlessly clean that place is. I mean, no dust, no noise, no evidence of tar on anything or asphalt on anything. It's very, very clean. They're utilizing their solar panels. They haven't had any issues with that. And she said they've got quite a few years to go yet before they'll run out of areas to take the asphalt stuff out of.
All right, great. Any questions or discussion there? All right, move on to item 5, which is Hellquest. Brian?
It was very neat and orderly for, well, it's not really a gravel pit. They mostly mine stone for landscaping, maybe some hearth or maybe a mantle. They blast as needed, and they've been blasting a little bit more often since with all the landscaping and all the new homes going up. But very well taken care of. They're not doing anything there that they're not supposed to.
So they're doing some blasting there though. So this is because out of all these other, Land and Stone obviously is, but the others that we Genesee Aggregate and Payne and Dolan are not, correct?
Oh, because they're gravel.
Right,
You don't want a strictly asphalt plant.
right.
Yeah, this one, they just do blasting as needed. They'll blast something and they pick out all their shelves for their landscaping. And he told me sometimes they would blast every 6 weeks. Now they blast sometimes once a month.
All right, items, any other discussion there? And then we'll move on to item 6, which is the Holcomb US, formerly Lafarge. Sean?
The change just basically, they have a new supervisor there, Joe Kresge, so we updated the information for them. As I said, I live, like Jim, I live across the street, literally across the street from there. I've had no issues in terms of noise abatement, in terms of dusting or anything. No issues in terms of dusting, in terms of everything looked pretty orderly. Trucks basically are washed coming in and out of the place. The upgrade basically that I can comment on, putting the roundabout at Hillside County line has helped the traffic flow on that in terms of safety going down Hillside Road. So everything basically, everything is in order. They also anticipate no changes to their hours of operation this summer, so they all look in good shape. The boundary lines and no trespass signs are quite visible.
So they are recently blasting, or they're anticipating blasting moving forward?
I do not, I will ask that question.
Anticipated, they haven't started yet.
They haven't started yet, okay, all right. Was that discussed at all, timing, or did that come up?
I will talk, actually, what I can do is I can give a call to Joe and I can talk through that and get an answer to the board.
Yeah, Sean, just have them contact Village Hall.
Okay.
So when that happens, they haven't done that in the past, that would need plan commission approval, or?
It would be a change to their plan of operation. They
okay.
would have to come in.
And
Alright.
as I said, and that's what I asked as a generic things, asked the question saying, do you, on your conditional use or plan of operation, do you anticipate anything? And they said, no, they didn't anticipate anything.
Right, so either they don't know that that's required, or it's a little bit further down the line.
They've got further steps to take with sewer pack and the DNR before they can think about doing that, so.
So are we talking, everyone's down the line is different. Are we talking like 2 years or 5 years, or we don't really know, but it's not
Yeah,
2025?
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Okay. All right, it's on the
And-
horizon, I guess, it's out there.
And actually too, I also went around the perimeter, went back from Hillside, went back to Norwalk, just to observe, to hear noise during the hours of operation. It's within acceptable limits.
Great. Any other discussion or questions there? All right, move on to item 5, which is planner's report.
Not too much to report. We've got a couple items for our next meeting. We've got a final plat for the previously approved Carrick subdivision, Lake Five Farms. That preliminary plat was last before the Plan Commission in the not too distant past. And then we've also got a concept review for a project for a CSM / self-storage facility on Q. This would be to the west of the Quick Trip on Q and County line, Q and 164.
Is this a revision of the plans that that were presented, I think, was it in February?
Different parcel,
Pardon me?
Yep,
different parcel.
parcel, but same potential developer.
All right, if that's it, then item 6 is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion's made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Rob, were you the second?
Rob,
Thank you.
opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
Good. We're out at 7:08.
I sold you some.